Councilmember Anita Bonds, Chairperson of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor, and the time is 2:15 p.m. on Monday, June 23rd, 2025. I'm calling to order this additional meeting of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor to consider the committee's report and recommendations on the FY26 budget and financial plan for agencies under its purview. We have a quorum consisting of committee member Matthew Furman, and of course, we've been joined by Chairman Phil Mendelson, who is a member of all of our committees. I want to thank my fellow committee members who have joined us, who were able to join us today. This budget season, the committee has worked to secure funding for critical initiatives that serve our seniors, ensure fair and open elections, provide employment opportunities for our residents, enhance public trust and government accountability, pause activities requiring further community input and judicial input, and preserve vital executive functions. The agencies under this committee's purview involve 5 main clusters: executive administration, senior citizen services, labor, government accountability, and elections. The executive administration cluster includes the Executive Office of the Mayor, commonly referred to as the EOM, the Office of the City Administrator, the Office of the Secretary of the District of Columbia, and the Mayor's Office of Legal Counsel. The Executive Office of the Mayor supports the mayor in governing and provides district agencies with vision and policy direction, as well as providing agencies with leadership support and oversight to implement specific policy goals and objectives. The committee, that is CEAL, as we commonly are referred to, recommends approval of the EOM's proposed FY26 budget of $31.7 million with funding for 175 FTEs. This represents an increase of 45% from last year's budget. While this may seem like a significant change, it is primarily due to a rebalancing of both personnel and government subsidies and grants. The Office of the City Administrator is responsible for day-to-day management of the district government, setting operational goals and implementing the legislative actions and policy decisions of the mayor and the council. The City Administrator's Office prepares the district's annual operating budget and provides direction to all agencies to ensure that they are meeting the needs of district residents. The committee recommends approval of the proposed FY26 budget for the Office of the City Administrator, which consists of $10.23 million and a reduction of $1.1 from the FY25 budget. The budget also supports 64 FTEs. This is an increase of 2 from last year, although my committee, CEAL, is today recommending the reduction of 2 vacant FTE slots in order to enhance programs within the committee itself. The Office of the City Administrator provides oversight, and now we will move to the Office of the Secretary that provides protocol, authentication, and public records management services to the mayor and district government agencies. This work includes managing the DC archives, commissioning notary public, publishing the DC Register, and acting as the district's liaison with diplomatic and international community. The committee recommends approval of the FY26 budget of $5.4 million and 29 FTEs. Next, the Mayor's Office of Legal Counsel It is the legal arm of the executive branch of the district government. Its primary responsibilities are to provide legal action and support the mayor, her senior staff, including deputy mayors, agency directors of the subordinate executive agencies, directly and through oversight of more than 40 agency general counsel offices. The committee recommends approval of the proposed FY26 budget of $1.8 million. This is an increase of less than 1% from the mark for FY25. The proposed budget allocates 10 FTEs, the same as it was for FY25 budget. The committee also oversees the Department on Aging and Community Living. The department provides information, assistance, and outreach for district seniors and people with disabilities and the caregivers. In partnership with community-based organizations across the district, the agency offers many free or low-cost programs and services to help district seniors live boldly. Affectionately referred to as DACL, the programs include community activities and events, nutrition and transportation services, case management, healthcare, and insurance counseling, Alzheimer's prevention, caregiver support resources, and adult protective services. The mayor's FY26 proposed budget for DACL is $62.2 million. This is a slight decrease of 4.3%, or about $2.8 million in operating funds compared to the FY25 budget. This funding supports 121.8 FTEs. Again, this represents a decrease from the FY25 approved levels. While the mayor's proposed budget did make critical investments in our senior programs, it also significantly reduced several vital programs. However, CEAL has worked with our colleagues and prioritized new funding for a number of critical programs and services. I am pleased to note that CEAL has accepted transfers in from other committees to support DACL's programming, including a one-time transfer of $200,000 for Veeder Senior Center that provides comprehensive health and social services to seniors with a focus on serving seniors who speak a language other than English. My thanks to the Committee on Public Works and Operations for this transfer. CEAL also accepted two separate reoccurring transfers from the Committee on Human Services, one for $350,000 to enhance the Dementia Navigators Program and $250,000 to support senior villages in the district. For many, senior villages are a proven way to help older residents continue living safely and comfortably in their own home. The $350,000 reoccurring budget enhancement for senior villages will restore this program to fiscal year 25 levels, ensuring the villages can continue delivering benefits to our older residents. The Dementia Navigators Program, implemented by Iona Senior Services, provides critical support to people living with dementia and their caregivers. This funding allows Iona to support intensive care management for approximately 100 people with severe dementia. Thanks to the Committee on Human Services that my colleague Matt Fruman chairs for supporting both of these programs. CEAL was also able to secure two separate transfers from the Committee on facilities, a one-time transfer of $350,000 to support Connect-a-Card transportation program, and a $1.2 million transfer of capital funding to be used to build an elevator at the Hattie Holmes Senior Wellness Center located in Ward 4. As you can see, we're looking out for our seniors in this budget. The Connector Card program is very popular throughout the city. In fact, has a wait list of 600 seniors. It is an income-based cost share program that provides a debit card that seniors can use for a variety of ground transportation services. This transfer from the Committee on Facilities will help restore some of the funding in the DACL transportation program and cut into the backlog of our seniors. And thanks to the Committee on Facilities for their commitment to improving senior experiences at the Hattie Holmes Wellness Center with a proposed installation of a new elevator in their future. CEAL also shifted some resources to DACL to enhance additional programming. We added $200 million in one-time funding to the Club Memory Alzheimer's program at Sibley Hospital. Club Memory is a social group for people with mild cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. Since its inception in 2011, Club Memory steadily has grown services across the entire city through a combination of grants from the Department on Aging and Community Living, DACL, and private philanthropy. This enhancement will restore some of the proposed cuts to this very significant and critical program. CEAL also added an additional $150,000 in one-time funding for FY26 to DACL's Connected Card program, specifically for returning citizens to receive this benefit. CEAL also added $100,000 in one-time funding to support 2 senior villages in Ward 7, one in the Southeast Penn corridor and one in the Northeast Eastern area. Together with the transfer from the Committee on Human Services, I am proud that senior villages are fully restored and while expanding the senior village concept into Ward 7. The committee also secured $100,000 in one-time funding for the lead agencies to work with UDC's Senior Companion Program that pairs active seniors with isolated seniors through weekly visits and activities. The program is stipend-based and maintains a current wait list of 300 applicants. Lead agencies are community-based resource centers designed to help seniors find services without having to leave their communities. And this money will be split evenly among the 3 lead agencies: Iona, Seabury Resources for Aging, and East River Family Strengthening Collaborative to support this workforce training and to develop the senior companions. Together, all these enhancements go a long way to restoring the $2.8 million proposed cuts in programming for DACL, and I'm proud of CEAL's work to enhance these programs. The committee also contains agencies that relate to labor, and that is the Department on Employment Services, commonly referred to as DOES, the Department of Human Resources, and that's DCHR, the Public Employee Relations Board, referred to as PERB, and the Office of Employee Appeals, OEA, and the Office of Labor Relations and Collective Bargaining, and the Workforce Investment Council. The Department of Employment Services is the lead labor and workforce development agency for the district with a vast array of programs and services available to both employees and job seekers. The committee recommends approval of the proposed FY26 budget of $181.6 million, although it represents over 15 million in cuts from the approved FY25 level. About 50% of these cuts are the result of the projected loss of federal grants funding through U.S. labor in FY26. The largest part of the remaining 7 million in cuts comes from the reduction in special purpose revenue funding that supports paid family leave administration. This cut will align the budget with the projected revenues for the Universal Paid Leave Administration Fund. The Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety recently transferred the Pathways Program to CEAL. It will be located at DOES. The program amounts to $4.5 million and includes 19 FTEs. And they will focus on obtaining employment through participation in various apprenticeships. This critical opportunity is designed to improve employment for the enrollees. The DC Department of Human Resources, DCHR, provides human resource management services that strengthen individual and organizational performance and enhances the district's government to attract, develop, and retain a well-qualified and diverse workforce. The committee recommends approval of the proposed FY26 budget of $20.8 million and 150.2 FTEs, which represents a decrease of about 4.8% from the FY funding levels. The Public Employee Relations Board, PERB, is an impartial, quasi-judicial, independent agency that resolves labor management disputes between agencies of the district government and labor organizations representing agency employees, and is governed by a 5-member board. Under the mayor's proposed FY26 budget, PERB was poised to receive an operating budget of $1.4 million, which is a slight increase of 1%, and 8 FTEs as identified in the FY25 levels. The committee recommends adoption of this proposed budget plan. The Office of Employee Appeals is an independent agency governed by a 5-member board. The agency handles appeals filed by district agencies' 40,000-member workforce and contains full-time and part-time administrative judges that adjudicate these appeals. OEA was also established the mediation and conciliatory program to resolve appropriate cases through avenues other than litigation. This committee recommends approval of the mayor's proposed FY26 budget, which provides OEA with $2.5 million, which is virtually unchanged from the FY25 level, and 14.5 FTEs, again, the same as in the FY25 budget. The committee, however, did secure funding for 2 enhancements requested by the agency, both in the way of recurring funds. The first recurring transfer is $100,000 through FY28 for a senior administrative staffer. This will help OEA work through the large number of appeals that are currently open. The second transfer is for $38 million a year, $144,000 over the course of the financial plan for the agency to provide its employees with professional training to help its employees execute the office's mission. The Office of Labor Relations and Collective Bargaining is the principal advocate for the district's labor management program and is responsible for negotiating agreements between the district government and labor organizations. They are also the primary litigators for the district's labor disputes. The committee recommends approval of the proposed FY26 budget of $3.4 million. The proposed budget supports 20 FTEs. Additionally, the committee oversees agencies related to government accountability and the administration of 4 electoral processes. They are the Board of Elections, referred to as BOE, the Office of Campaign Finance, and the Office of Inspector General. The District of Columbia Board of Elections is responsible for the administration of elections, ballot access, and voter registration. The committee recommends approval of the proposed FY26 budget, which is $13.5 million. This is a decrease of 10.1% from the current fiscal year FY25. This funding supports 66 FTEs. The current budget proposal reflects a reduction of $1.16 million across multiple programs to realize savings in non-personnel service costs related to equipment purchases and contractual obligations. The Office of Campaign Finance regulates the reporting and disclosure of the financial operations and activities of candidates for local office. The proposed FY26 budget for the agency is $16.8 million, which represents an increase of over 110% compared to the current fiscal year FY25. The proposed budget supports 38 FTEs. The dramatic increase is solely due to the investment in the Fair Elections Program, which provides audits and verification of the financial reports submitted under the Fair Elections Program to qualify for the public funding of campaign operations. It also includes the disbursement of base amounts and matching fund payments from the Elections Fund to qualified candidates and conducts coordinated educational outreach to candidates participating in the program and the general public concerning the requirements of the program. Next year's election cycle has several major citywide races, including the office of mayor, attorney general, chairman of the council, which together necessitates that we have enough money in the fund to make payments to the qualifying candidates. The committee recommends approval of the FY26 proposed budget. And then finally, the District of Columbia Office of Inspector General is an independent audit, inspection, and investigative entity for the district with 6 programs focused on identifying and preventing corruption, mismanagement, waste, fraud, and abuse. Through its operating programs, the OIG conducts audits and inspections. The committee recommends approval of the FY26 budget of $23.4 million and 121 FTEs. In summary, CEAL's FY23 budget is reported out as $980,851,558 dollars for the FY26 budget. And that concludes my summary of the agencies under the purview of this committee. And before we undertake a vote, I'll ask if there is any discussion, and I'll turn to my colleague, Councilmember Fruman.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Bonds, and thank you very much for the work that you've done on this and that your team has done. You have worked really seamlessly with us from start to finish on this process. I want to thank you and underscore the confluence of our priorities around a couple of different things. The villages, which we were pleased that you accepted the transfer to support villages across the city. They play a very important role in our services for our seniors. But then you also provided additional dollars for the pilots in Ward 7, which I think, again, a very important thing to have done. We need to have coverage throughout the city, and you've advanced us in that goal. Also, thank you very much for accepting our transfer for the Dementia Navigators program that is based out of Iona, but is a citywide program that makes a real difference in the lives of families with acute needs. And in parallel to that, thank you for you providing the funding for the Sibley Club Memory Program, which also serves a similar kind of role, not the same thing, but a similar sort of role. This is a population that is growing, folks that are suffering and contending with the challenges of Alzheimer's, and really pleased that we have, through this budget, been able to do some positive things for those communities. Similarly, the reorganization of the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, I think before the mayor came forward with her legislation, some of us were thinking, is there something we should do in this space? Is this the most efficient way to go? We focused on this in my committee because we have the Office of Latin American Affairs and the Office of Asian and Pacific Islander Affairs. The mayor made some changes. Hopefully we can get some efficiencies out of those changes. I think we want to look at the process that she used, and we want to work together to make sure that this works well going forward. We're in new territory, but I'm grateful to you for the way in which you've approached that. Couple of things where in my perfect world, I would have loved to have seen funding provided for I-83, ranked choice and independent voting. That wasn't in the cards here. I would have loved to have seen the repeal of I-82, the BSA repealing I-82 struck, and the campaign finance reform amendment that allows contractors to participate in the fair elections program struck, and the retroactive pay increase restriction amendment struck. And then lastly, and importantly, on the archives, the egg has been scrambled here, and we're all trying to figure out what's the way to go. I think it's fortuitous that Chairman Mendelson is here. In your report, you talk about different things that we might do. And we're hearing from folks who are on the front lines of this issue in real time. And I don't know what the right solution is here, to tell you the truth. It may be that the best thing to do is to do some improvements at Naylor Court while we buy time to figure out how we solve this. What I don't want to see us do, and I don't think you want to see us do, is for us to invest a lot of money in an approach on the archives that doesn't have broad support and doesn't look practical. The idea of some sort of off-site facility and paired with the Sumner School does not look like the right answer to me. I think it's very important for us to step back, and all of us, Chairman Mendelson, Chairwoman Bonds, myself, others who are interested in the archives issue, to take a beat and try to figure out what's the best solution here, because this is a very, very important function for our city. We want to get this right. But the bottom line is, very grateful to you for all of the work that you've done on this report, and delighted to be in full support of it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Fruman. Are there any other chairman?
Chairman Bonds, remind me again, what's the committee's recommendation with regard to OLRCB?
The funding level, the current funding level is 34.4 million and 20 FTEs.
Is that an increase over the current year or decrease?
It's stagnant.
Stagnant. I'm just thinking, we're behind in a lot of the bargaining agreements. You and I both attended, actually, I think it was your staff and I attended a 5 a.m. bargaining session, which I think was just plain old mean and hostile to the teachers. I'm just wondering why they need money when they're not doing their job.
Okay. Need money when they're not doing their job. So you are saying that maybe this agency needs to have a reduction in FTEs or a reduction in total budget?
Well, I don't have an amendment, so you're safe on that, but I just am wondering why they would need level funding to not perform what duties they're supposed to perform.
All right. Well taken. And
Do I need to remind you again about the 5 AM bargaining session? How many years did it take for the teacher's contract to come to us?
well, there are a number of issues with the bargaining process. We have addressed one of the issues, and that's ground rules. It seems that this office waits for ground rules to be promulgated by the bargaining units. And sometimes the wait is months, and they still do not come up with ground rules. Ground rules they're so necessary for having a fair process. So I know that that is one of the major hurdles that they face. And there may be others. I'm not sure. I understand how they do the scheduling because they have the capacity to schedule several compensation discussions simultaneously with different teams within the office. But we will definitely look at that and see where there can be some efficiencies, and perhaps the BSA needs to address the type of efficiencies if we had some expert input on that.
Well, I just think, not to belabor it, but I just think that,
Sorry.
if there's a commitment to getting a bargaining agreement done timely, then it can be done timely. And otherwise, it's like dragging out the process, and it's unfair to our workers. It's actually hard on the appropriation process since we're dealing with these contracts retroactively. The teachers' union contract isn't even properly funded in the proposed budget because the mayor did not include that in the funding formula for the schools in the charter sector. And if they're not going to do the work, it makes me wonder why they need the resources. But let me change the subject. I appreciate the recommendations with regard to the archives, that the proposal that's in the mayor's budget is not optimum. I will add that it's very disturbing that we've spent millions of dollars on planning and design work for a site that everybody said was excellent. And if it was excellent, then it's still excellent. And so I do appreciate the comments in the committee report.
Well, thank you very much, because it is very concerning. And I am aware that the proposed demolition of the current site on UDC campus is extremely costly, more than $15 million. And that has to do with the fact that it sits on top of a garage, an underground garage. And still seems very costly to me, but that is what the engineers are saying, and that's what Department of General Services has before us. And so that, along with the general increase in costs as we go from year to year and still not have the facility built, we end up with estimated costs of close to $50 million increase in the building. So we need to make a decision. And so I have proposed to some of the archives activists that we need to come together and talk about this as a unit, along with DGS and of course the committee and our total committee, to just see what we can come up with. The monies that the mayor has in the budget has proposed with the new location, I understand that Sumner School is in a deteriorating state of affairs. It has its own little museum of sorts, which takes you through the history of the public education system in the District of Columbia. So there's some materials there that we would like in the archives. And they need some renovation, because I think the office of the state superintendent is currently housed in Sumner School. So that's one side of it. The idea of having an off-site that would hold our entire collection of artifacts, documents, be built somewhere, and then having those documents as needed to be transported to a sort of viewing area doesn't seem to be something that everyone appreciates, understanding might be the new plan. So we have some work to do, and I'm hoping that we can hold on to the resources that have been currently allocated so that we can build on those and actually have the archives to move forward. So thank you very much. And on the Office of Labor Relations and Collective Bargaining, I just wanted to say that there are a number of issues that we have run across that may contribute to slowness. Now, that is a office that considers itself boutique labor attorneys. And so that may have something to do with the timing and how they get things done. But I would like for us to examine that, and I'm sure my colleague will join me in examining what are the real reasons for the slowdown and how this office effectively uses its money. So thank you very much for that. We have also been joined by colleague at-large council member Kenyon McDuffie. So thank you very much. Do you have any comments that you would like to add to the record?
I do. Thank you, Chairwoman. I really appreciate all the work that your team and you have put into getting this budget together in, really challenging circumstances in terms of the amount of time we've had versus normal when we got the budget this year. And so I just want to really recognize you and your team for that. Obviously, you have been a champion for our seniors. I was going to say for as long as you've been on the council, but I know you and have known you for much longer than that. Know that your advocacy and support for our seniors predates your tenure as council member. I think it's just something that has really been a priority for you in your life as a public servant. So I want to lift that up and really thank you for it being reflected in this budget as it always is under your chairmanship. I do want to ask a question because there's one item that is included in the budget that raises some serious concerns, and I'd love to just get your thoughts about it. There's a transfer from the Committee on Judiciary for the Pathways program, and it includes $4.5 million in operating funds, as well as 19 FTEs from the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety. And I would love to get your thoughts on how that is going to impact the existing work being done by the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. As you know, the Pathway program is a really core component of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement's work that they have been doing for nearly a decade, and work that I know you've been a huge supporter of. In fact, I think it's been, some of the most effective work that the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement has done is the number of individuals who have been, at risk of committing violence or being on the receiving end of really serious gun violence. And several of them have gone through numerous cohorts conducted by the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement via the Pathways program. And so I'd like to know your thoughts and the communication around what happens to the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement's work on the Pathways program as a part of its overall violence prevention strategy.
Okay, on the one's office, it is my understanding it will continue. But the Pathways program, which is primarily those individuals who are in need of workforce training and jobs, that is the portion that was transferred to CEAL, to this committee. So the emphasis is on employment, skills building, training, and jobs and retention of jobs. So that's how this pot of money will be utilized. As it relates to things like violence prevention activities that certainly have been, I think, important in our community. I'm one of those that's been a fan of the process back in the day when we had those workers who were hanging around the schools and making sure that the so-called beefing was not taking place on school grounds or to and from school. So, I believe in this program. It's my understanding that Cure the Streets will continue to do whatever they've been doing through the Attorney General's office. Yet, we continue to see that agency in the news. But as it relates to the one's office, I imagine they will continue to do the, I'll say, the outreach and engagement within the community. Now, I think we have to work out, and this is not anything that has been shared, but I am assuming that there has to be a discussion about how these FTEs are going to move forward on their educational journey. It could very well mean that this cohort of individuals will move forward into the jobs market, and other individuals will assume the role of engaging community against gun violence.
Right.
I don't know the answer
Appreciate that. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we
and I think that,
on that. We should be really clear as to what will happen with the
yeah,
devices, yes.
I appreciate that. And that's part of my concern because, in hearing you say you're not sure what aspect of the one's office with respect to like the violence prevention and the outreach. And to be clear, that's not within your purview, right? So I don't necessarily expect the chairman of CEAL to know that. Now I'll reach out to the appropriate chair of the Judiciary Committee. But I know it's something that you've been hugely supportive of in the past in terms of the work that is being done in the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And what is unclear to me is this is something requested by the executive, because I don't believe there was a subtitle, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, included in the mayor's proposed budget that would have moved the Pathways program out of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And while it is a part of what the Pathways program does is the workforce development, job readiness component, they also do a lot of coordinating in that Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, where they offer a suite of services and supports, and it goes beyond the job readiness and training, which is important, but it also includes support. And I believe you even noted in your committee report, it includes support for food, it includes support for transportation, it includes support for mental health, trauma informed counseling. It's all being coordinated through a single office in order to make sure that those individuals who are at the highest risk of committing gun violence or being on the receiving end of gun violence actually have everything that they need, right? So they need the really important job training program being offered through the Pathways program, but they need so much more, which is being coordinated within the one's office. So I say all that to say, Chairman, that I take issue with this aspect of your budget, and it's only one component, right? You have a budget that I plan to support today, but I would ask that that we note my concern and opposition to this component of the budget. And I do want to work with you though to make sure we get answers to some of the questions that we have that are lingering with respect to this proposal, and then what remains in the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, because I'm actually hearing really deeply concerning news and reports, which I'm not substantiated yet, about what's being proposed at the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. So as always, I appreciate all the work you're doing, and I plan to work with you. I'm supporting the budget today, but I wanted to note that for the record, given the quick timeline that we're on with our markups. I'm glad the chairman is present for your markup, because I'm glad he can hear these concerns that I'm raising too, because I am likely to raise, and others of my colleagues who've already reached out to me about this component of the CEAL markup. We're going to be raising it in the hours, days, and weeks to come. I've gotten a couple of calls from folks in the community as well, Chair Bonds, and some of whom you know really well and have worked with in the past too, and they've expressed concerns about this moving pathways out of the one's office to DOES. But thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments and concern. I can share that I have been informed that the one's office will remain. So there will be a one's office. Now, I think you and I, along with others, need to be real clear as to the work of that office and how it will work. So that's one thing. The other thing is, as it relates to the transfer of the FTEs, along with the FTEs, there's a small amount of money that is included in this 4.5 million that will be designated or is designated for transportation, mental health services, and food. So we know that in order to get people at the lower level of engagement in workforce into jobs and to retain jobs, they need a lot of support. And so there is some money for that. And that's why I'm thinking that we do need to think about what will be the new plan for the one's office. I plan on speaking to that matter when I go to the markup for that committee, and I'm sure you'll be there. I believe you're
Yes.
there too. So
Yeah.
we will be there on that point. But I thank you very much for that input.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, I appreciate you hearing me out and noting in the report that this significant of a change, I think, should not happen in the budget process without some coordination with the folks who help to make all those moving parts in the Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement work. So, but thank you for your leadership in the years past, and for agreeing to work with me moving forward to get some of the answers to our questions. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. And with no further discussion, I'll now move the committee report for approval with leave for staff to make technical and conforming changes. All those in favor signify sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, we are unanimously approve of this measure. I want to thank everyone for your time, and I know we're a tad minute or two over, but this concludes the business of today's meeting. We are adjourned.